everybody, to I, the Serpent Tarot, for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading's all around the element of water. So in the sense that we think of it astrologically or magically, the sort of emotional center, the sort of fluid energy that helps us sort of get emotional and sort of relationship and sometimes creative equilibrium. And it's got a really strong sort of healing and transformative and alchemical focus today as well too. There's probably three reasons in particular that I wanted to do this reading today, from probably least focused to most focused. The first is that I'm a water sign, so I have a bias towards the element of water. I'm Scorpio and very strongly scorpionic, so I love the idea of sort of really doing a reading looking at that element in particular. Secondly, I think the sort of concept of water's healing properties and alchemically, we've all, I think, the world's been through a lot of late, so it's a nice sort of concept of really exploring how our emotions and getting those into balance and alchemically transformed will help us dealing with all of that. But the third and most important reason, and for the timing of this, is I just received the new deck from Inner Traditions called the Water Alchemy Oracle. Now this oracle, when you see three cards from it, that you may think, oh, that's somewhat familiar, that artistic sort of vision, if you've sort of been a regular to my channel. And it's because it's by the wonderful card developer and author Alexandra Wenman, who did the Archangel Fire Oracle, and she's partnered again with the brilliant artist Avelia Savina, who also did the artwork for the Archangel Fire Oracle. So of course I'm not going to miss the opportunity to have both in this reading. We're going to start with this beautiful new deck, and we're going to at the end have some messages from the archangels using that deck. So we top and tail with Alexandra and Avelia's beautiful work. So it gave me a chance to showcase this new deck as it's come out. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at how the water element operates for you. You don't necessarily have to be feeling that you need emotional healing at the moment to get something from this, because we're just going to be looking how the element's working for you, where it works really well, where it could overwhelm, where you need to bring it into balance, and what Spirit's advice is for you. So you don't have to be, as I say, looking for healing, but if you are feeling the sense of a need for emotional healing, then it may be that what Spirit has chosen here for the choice cards from the deck, and there are two other cards from the deck which will also be involved at the beginning of the reading to work out the energy, how the water energy is best used for you, which I don't know what they are, but these ones came up as choices from Spirit. It might be that one of these things really draws you in terms of healing or inspiration, in particular, say the third one there with Comet. So let's put down the numbers as usual. So pile 1 has bathing, the number 18 or 9 if that resonates for you. Pile 2 has tears, the number 37 or 10 or 1. So if you feel that you like a good cry, it's very cathartic, that might be the one for you. If you feel like being in an Epsom salts bath, for instance, like as I say, whatever works for you to choose. And then interestingly, Spirit chose Comet, which is the number 39, so that is then 12 or 3. And that feels to me very much like a kind of marriage of the water element and possibly the air element. So but that's just my intuitive read of it right from the start. So one of those may draw you, the imagery may draw you, you may always go to a particular number, whatever works for you. Pause the video if you need to before choosing. But when you do know what reading or readings you want to go to, and by all means go to more than one if you want, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you've come to the reading where you were potentially drawn to bathing as the first sort of healing energy. You've also got Aquifer and Rockpool. Very interesting, this combination of cards. Bathing in particular, so that was the core one that brought you here, is talking about it's time to have a little bit of relaxation. Like literally, as I was saying in the introduction, an Epsom salts bath, going to a spa, something like that. You've earned it. This is what it's saying. You are at a point where maybe you've been doing a lot of work, and I think you've been doing a lot of work about working out your spiritual pathway and your spiritual history, maybe your ancestral history when we get to these cards. But it may also have been playing out in those elements operating on something you were doing more in the material world. But either way, the first energy around this is you've reached a particular level, you've had some aha moments. Even if the journey is still moving forward, reward yourself. That's the first message that the water element is saying to you via spirit. These are interesting. Rockpool is about being able to stand out, much as we can see this sort of creature jumping out of the rock pool, becoming seen in some way. I think this is saying that there is something very unique about you that you've started to excavate, you've started to bring out. You may well have already started to show yourself in the world, in which case, again, the congratulations is for how far you've come. But this is saying that what is unique in you, what is different, is a really core thing to be focusing on. And that makes it very interesting that you've got aquifer. Now, aquifer are bodies of water that are usually found within rock. Or mountains, or that kind of thing. They're kind of enclosed within that, and there's a sense of timelessness. There's a sense of age. And I don't mean in terms of like chronological age, but in sense of sort of spiritual age associated with this. This is a card that is about really understanding your past life, karma, your spiritual quest, what's brought you here, what are the elements that have brought you here. So this is saying to me that I think what the message that the water element wants to give you is that you are ready to really fly, but give yourself a little bit of a break, pat yourself on the back. You've done a lot in this space, and I think even more is going to come up. It may even be saying that there is more to find out here. So, if you do things like past life regressions or shamanic journeying or something like that, there is even more to discover here. But what you have discovered in some way, and if you've doubted it at all, don't doubt it. This is don't doubt it. Don't doubt that what is really unique and individual to you is the thing that's really going to make you fly. One of the things this makes me think of, actually, and this is maybe for people who are creative, if you resonate to that, is I remember seeing Keith Urban, the country music sort of guitarist and singer, on, I think it was an Australian talent show, I can't remember, it wasn't that long ago. And he was talking about the rise of him and his band. And he said something, because I think there'd been a contestant that was really unusual, really unique. And he said something to his fellow judges about how in the early days with his career, when people would come and see him and his band, they loved it, like record execs or whatever. But then they go, "Oh, we don't really know where to put you. We don't really know where to fit you in the genre, in our catalogue." And one of them said, "You know what? The thing that's making that hard now is eventually the thing that's going to make you successful." I think there's a thing here. It's kind of like you've had a bit of a breakthrough. It's based on really strong skills and really strong understanding, which you could excavate more. But like, give yourself a bit of a break. Congratulate yourself. I think that's the real message that's coming here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use tarot to go into it a little bit more detail. And what I've done is I've chosen a tarot that is based on moon energy. It's called the Monsoon Tarot, and it sort of has, or it has a moon-like quality to it anyway. And the reason I wanted to do that, and some of the other cards I'll use as we go through have that kind of energy as well, is that there's a very strong connection between the moon and emotions and between the moon and the tides. So I felt it nicely balanced with the theme. So what we're going to ask firstly is, where are you riding the emotional tides really, really well and skillfully? Then we're going to ask where there's a risk you could be overwhelmed if you're not aware of things, and then we're going to ask how to bring it all together. So firstly, what is going really, really well for you at the moment? The Hierophant, yeah. You've got a very deep spiritual background. The Knight of Water, the Three of Earth reversed, the Two of Water, Page of Fire. Yeah, I do think many of you might be creative. This could be picking up creative energy. It could also be picking up love energy with the Knight of Water and the Two of Water there. For some of you, you may have just met or may be about to draw into your life the person who is the other side of you, the thing that is unique, the really powerful energy in that way. But it's certainly saying when it comes to choices about emotional issues and offers that come to you, you're doing really well with that because you have the knowledge, you have the basis. Like on a very 3D level, if you were a creative, then you have a very good understanding of the industry that you operate within. You know what would be a good offer, you know what would be a good connection. You also know when things aren't working and how to draw in other connections when things aren't working with the Three of Earth reverse. So you could well have had a little bit of self-doubt sometimes if things didn't land or didn't build, but equally you're really drawing up this very strong water energy. Like you've got really lovely balanced water energy here. You can bring that in, and there's a lot of creative and passionate energy moving forward for you. In fact, I think what the water element is saying is that That's the next step for you. You actually have advanced a lot around the water element. That's why it's saying celebrate, and you have the knowledge to do this. The next step for you is really articulating what you would want creatively or passionately, because pages are always about that to me. They're about really getting to the core of what this is. What do you want to do with that element? So the fire element. I think that the water element is saying then you can look at earth. Don't worry about how you ground this. The important thing for you at the moment is the right connections, the sense of emotional liberation and uniqueness, drawing on a really strong knowledge base, and then working out what you want to sort of passionately follow. So I think it's sort of saying, you're flying when it comes to this, and a little bit more looking into that, like the Three of Earth reversed. I think that is picking up, like looking into the past manifestations of this is a good thing to do. It will draw energy in for you. So let's also ask where you could get overwhelmed, because water is wonderful, but too much of it floods. So let's see where you could get overwhelmed, what Spirit wants to say in relation to that for you. Temperance, King of Water, okay. Knight of Fire reversed. The Emperor reversed. Origin, this is an additional card. Okay, all right. So this might be why Spirit wants you to take a little bit of time out. I think that Spirit is saying here that, interestingly enough, when you focus too much on balancing and making everything right with everybody else, and potentially, as I say, within an industry or whatever, you can get a bit overwhelmed by that. I think it's trying to say you really have the knowledge to do this. Have faith in yourself. And if you give to someone else the emotional reins, you move from the Knight of Cups to the King of Cups, or Knight of Water to the King of Water. I think that this is a sense where you could, by trying to fit in with somebody else, sort of get caught or get overwhelmed. Sorry, I just had something come through on my sort of YouTube mentions or whatever that made a noise. You might have heard it, and that kind of made me lose my train of thought. So I'm getting back into the train of thought now. So I feel like there's something here about trying to balance with maybe people who are further along the path, or you consider are further along the path. That could overwhelm you. That in fact, I think that Spirit is saying you're much more natural, and you're further along than you think that you are. What it does is it slows down what you're meant to be doing, which is working out the passion, whatever the passion is. It's about knowing your type of power as opposed to what the powers are in the world. And there may be an actual warning here for some of you around, there could be a connection. I think it's going to be, if it is a warning, I don't think it's about a romantic arrangement, but I think if some of you are looking at something in an industry, there could be an issue around being careful about making sure there's an emotional simpatico and not being emotionally or creatively driven by another person who has the power. So there's just something there. It's like you need to feel like you're with equals, or that they understand you as an equal, if we're talking about that. Otherwise, it's like it slows down your creative energy, and it disconnects you from the origin, which is where you've brought all of this energy and this creativity in, if it is around something creative, for instance, or in the workplace. If it's around a relationship, and for some of you this could be about bringing in a very important relationship, trying to get too fast to it rather than just enjoying it could be an issue. It could have the ironic effect of slowing it down. Trying to kind of work out a power dynamic may be an issue, or there could be a power dynamic issue. This could be a karmic relationship. So it's sort of something to be aware that kind of thing could happen. So if this is around a relationship, I think there's a lot going for it, but there may be some karmic sort of things to look at. So this may be the next thing to look at. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by it or trying to balance it at the moment, understanding it a bit better would be helpful. So let's get advice, just 3 cards of advice about how to sort of balance these two things for you, pile 1. I mean, overall, I think you're doing really, really well. It's the next step, I think. It's the next step, and how to take things forward. That's the important thing. So, 3 of Water, Ace of Earth reversed, the Devil. Okay, all right. Okay, there's a fairly clear message here, I think. It's saying, like on the water element, on the creativity, on the emotion, you're doing really well. You should celebrate. You should enjoy. Like there's literally like these people enjoying a spa. This is exactly, and it's 3 people here. There's 3 people there, and the Slavic water goddess that's pictured on that card. So there's definitely that sense, and I think even with the butterfly here of the transformative healing energy, like just celebrating and enjoying, just enjoying what's going on, not rushing to the outcome. Don't rush to the outcome. That's what it's saying. Whether this is a relationship or whether it is a career thing that we're looking at or a creative thing, there's a huge potential here, but it's saying you don't have to ground this yet. There's more to work out from the past and more to enjoy before you really commit and ground to something. Because if you do it too early, you may feel trapped when this is actually potentially a very good thing. So there's a balance here of being in the moment. I think the biggest advice here overall is enjoy, congratulate yourself, back yourself, maybe explore a little bit more in the past, but that's really just to uncover more of an understanding of the options that you have moving forward. But overall, you work very, very well with water. You may well be a water sign or have water signs strongly in your chart, but it's like, don't hurry, don't rush. It's almost like let it be a gentle lake rather than a raging stream at the moment, because you're not meant right now to make the commitments around whatever this is. You're meant to explore a little bit more. Okay, so let's get you some moon energy, as I said, on top of that. So see what else the water element and spirit want to talk to you about as energy around your healing and your transformation. I think it's your growth in this case, actually. I don't think, as I say, I'm not saying that you haven't been through stuff. You may well have been, and you may well need healing, but you're very good at that naturally. You're naturally able to sort of wash things away. So we get, firstly, protection, waning crescent moon. So the waning crescent is loss and sacrifice and letting go. So there could be something to let go. I think it's let go of any self-doubt. I think many of you have been very different. And that may have been an issue to start with around certain things. Around, it could be around getting on at school or in the workplace or creatively. But it's ultimately going to be the thing that, as I said right at the beginning, makes you successful. This is, I think, saying you have protection. Like whatever this is, and I feel like this is the Ace of Earth and the 3 of Earth here. I feel like there's almost like something, a new relationship, a career thing, a creative thing. It's like a very precious child that you are actually protecting at the moment. And that's the point. Protected by not making it grow up too fast. Protected by the joy of life and the joy of the experience. Okay, and patience, the green corn moon. So I don't know a lot about the green corn moon specifically, but if it is about patience, it's the same message. It's saying, don't rush. Don't rush. There's no need to rush. And don't doubt yourself if things take time. This is the emerging of something new, a new relationship, a new creative project, but it is unique. It's about you. And if it's a relationship, about your other half, I think. So you do need to give things patience, time to grow. Don't put yourself on time frames that are either unrealistic or that are so punishing that you feel exhausted and you can't enjoy each step of the way. So I actually feel like I need to say to you, I have a personality quirk where just when I'm about to celebrate something, I start to think into the future, and then I'm sort of always worrying into the future rather than enjoying the moment. And I think I think you have a similar sort of energy, and maybe it even goes with water signs in a weird way, because it's hard to kind of ground and just enjoy because you're always moving on to the next thing. But I think it is saying, enjoy, let it grow, trust yourself. Okay, we're also going to ask the White Owl Mystic, which may pick up other moon energy potentially, or other advice for you. Venus. For many of you, this is about love, but I think could be self-love. It could be a very important romantic partnership that you just need to grow. It could be just love for a creative thing, or it could be love for all that is beautiful. So, it is about enjoyment. This is the message, like enjoy the journey rather than worrying about the destination. That'll look after itself. You've got the backing, and you're being protected, so you know what to do. And Earth, yeah. So that it's even and that's the slower thing. It's like to get to the Earth thing is going to take time. It will get that. This is what it's saying. It will. Don't worry about that. If you're just at the beginning of a creative inspiration, for instance, and you kind of think you could make great connections and great connections and really make it happen. You will. It is something, but it's not yet. You've got to have patience to let that grow, but let that energy come in. This is meant to be something you enjoy. This is meant to be something that you love. And if it's a relationship, again, there's a promise that it's going to ground. Just allow it to grow. Okay. So we're also going to look at some astrology, numerology, and we'll also look at the mansions of the moon and fixed stars, just to see what else we can get in terms of advice for you. So, Saturn, I'm going to put that there. This is the message over and over. Some of you may be really frustrated by waiting. This might be the issue, and you may feel, is my idea not good enough or something, because you've got to allow it to grow. And there is karma again, like really karmic stuff. There is like your past lives, that you have such a huge wealth of talent and spiritual knowledge and other knowledge that you've brought through. The more that you can delve into that. In fact, I think there's a little bit of a subtext here. I think it's saying that this thing, whatever it is that you're doing, relationship, creativity, needs time to grow. So use some of that time, apart from enjoying yourself sometimes and just going, this is great, I'm enjoying it. If you're going to put your energy anywhere in while you're feeling impatient, do it into looking into the past, into really connecting more with that, because there's a lot that you could get from that. And Venus again. Oh my goodness. I do think for many of you, this actually might be a love relationship. It's a very well aspected one and very karmically connected, but it may take time. Enjoy it. And if it's not, then they're very creative, something very beautiful you're bringing into the world. Give it time. Let it grow. Wow. Okay. And let's also get you either a fixed star or a mansion of the moon. Allahu, eros and vitality. Pour your desires all over me, take over my body and make my heart sing. Well, yeah, I do think any of you that are either wanting to bring in love, if you haven't had love for a while and you felt like, am I too quirky or different? Or you have a sense of a twin flame or soulmate coming in, or you're in a relationship and you're wanting to see how it will grow and develop. This is very, very powerful and very, very positive. But it's saying, like, get over worrying about the end goal. Just enjoy it. Everything else will look after itself. Okay. So to finish off, as I said, I want to just get you a couple of archangels for their viewpoint on this from the same wonderful creators as created the water alchemy deck. So let's see who we have for you. Metatron. Okay. So for those of you who this is about something creative or something that, your new narrative, your new story, that's a very powerful energy to give you the confidence. See our Metatron sort of goal, very sort of solar plexus, believe in your own power. I think it's also write your own story and understand your story, because Metatron is the archangel, the scribe of the divine. So there's something very much like this is a new story, a new love, a new beginning, but it has very high order protection. As I say, I think that's literally suggesting that the protection is coming from Metatron, which is very powerful. And Azrael, okay. Oh, look, you are very, very spiritually aligned, I would say, and very, very connected to your past lives. Like, if you feel that you've had a past life, you're likely to be more, everybody's had past lives, but if you feel that you know what your past life is, you're more likely to be accurate than most, because Azrael is all about that, about like the life and death cycles or whatever, and like the transitions through that. So there's definitely something in exploring that, and Azrael is here to help you explore it even more. Like, I keep getting in my head when I see these together and how it's come out, something like Mozart. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you had to have been a prodigy or something for this to fit, but I just think that there's something like that kind of energy, like you've brought something in and it will grow. You've got to give it time to grow. The other thing it makes me think of is I've sometimes, in fact, I quite often talked about a book called The Soul's Code that American psychologist and psychiatrist and philosopher James Hillman wrote. And in it, he talks about how the young soul, the child, knows, that their higher self knows what they want to be. And he gives various examples. And one example he gives is of Yehudi Menuhin, who is like a world-class violinist. And he tells the story about how when Yehudi was a young kiddie, he was given a a toy violin, and he got really frustrated with it. And James Hillman's thesis is it's because the higher self wanted to jump instantly into bringing through that very, very almost already developed, virtuoso gift. So I have a sense of that. I think there's something like that if it's creative. If it's about a love relationship, though, it connects with your life story, the new life story coming in, and there's centuries between you and this person. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed it. As I say, I don't think there's a lot of healing that's needed for you. I think there is a bit of enjoy yourself and take some time out. Don't be in such a hurry. But beyond that, I think the message is really positive. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with tears, and it may be, I think I said in the introduction, maybe you have felt the need for a good cry, something cathartic like that. That could be what drew you, or you could actually see in a more general sense the wonderful releasing energy of tears. Tears of joy sometimes, as well as tears of sort of heartache or loss or grief or any of those sorts of things. Certainly if you've come because of those latter things, you have my sympathy. I do think that you're going to have something come out of it if it's the case that is really significant, because when we look at the other cards, we see something coming from something small to something very profound. Now, firstly, with the tears here, this is the Archangel Muriel on the card, and she's creating an ocean from her tears. Now, this is important given this energy and this energy. The ripple energy here is something small that starts to create a movement. So this is about starting to sort of create a momentum, starting to do something new. It's just the beginning of something which may well have followed having to release an energy from the past, something that didn't work, something that didn't come to fruition. Or it may not even be that. You may have been drawn to this for a different reason, and it may be that you have an intuition that something that seems small at the moment is going to be as vast as the ocean. And I think for many of you that's probably true, because we have nebula. Nebula is saying that there is water on many other planets. So this is a starseed type of connection. It would confirm something like that if you feel that connection. But there is something that is divine in this energy and very creative, like creative of a new world. So I feel like this is saying that something very small, I think that the water element, spirit wants you to see something small, something that's rippling in your life at the moment. Maybe even something that brings you to an emotional space that's almost a little bit unfamiliar, like a little bit expansive. It's meant to bring in something. So you create your ocean, not of tears in a negative way, but as a creative thing. So I feel like this is something very profound, but it feels very small at the moment. And yet you also feel you have an instinct that it could sort of create an ocean. It could take all before it. If this is a relationship, you've got a very strong indication that there's a strong kind of soul family connection. If it's something creative, it's a new idea or a new inspiration, or even a new you arising in some way, something that you're trying to do, transform yourself in some very profound way. You have the power almost of a god or goddess to do it in this. This is what these two cards together are saying to me. So let's get into it in a bit more detail. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a tarot. I'm using a tarot that I feel has a very water-like energy to it, and also a connection to me. It feels very much like the moon, and we're going to be looking at advice from the moon because of the connection of the moon and the tides in sort of the 3D world and how that kind of plays out on an esoteric level. So the first thing we're going to do is ask where you are riding the waves of emotion and water very well and skillfully. We're then going to ask where there's a risk you could be overwhelmed, because of course too much water causes flooding. And then we're going to ask for the advice to bring it together. So firstly, where are you really using the water element well in your life? Justice, Page of Earth, the Hanged Man reversed, Eight of Earth, wow, Three of Fire. Okay, there's something very material about this. Something very material, something very different. If you are dealing with sort of something that caused tears, then I think this is, you've now got the ripple, the idea of how to actually almost on a cosmic level bring in justice. So there's something, for many of you, there's something about your skills, the skills that you have will bring things into balance. And I think your air element works very well with water. And what I'm getting here, interestingly, is it's the way that you keep things in balance between earth, your skills and the things that you want to build in the world, and the water element. Because of course, if you have too much water with earth, you end up with mud. So I think that your mind, what the water element is saying is your mind is very good at keeping things in balance so that you can actually work with your skills and the material world very well to create whatever this ripple effect is. And it is something new. It is something different. You may well have... This whole reading may be an aha moment for you, because at the moment you might be sort of feeling frustration with the world, with the politics, with society, something like that. But there's something where you're going to get an aha moment. There's something, little ripple effect of something that you're doing, and that goes out, and it's much more cosmic than that. So I'm getting for some of you, if you do this sort of work and you do it around social issues or whatever, there's something about the ripple effect of your voice and your skills that is much bigger than you're seeing at the moment. And you are able to kind of find your own direction really well as a result of this. But there's something in this, whatever this is, has a very material outcome. But it's almost otherworldly, which sort of makes sense. And it's about justice. So you use this very well to bring these elements into balance. So then let's ask where water could overwhelm you. Or as I said, too much and create mud with the earth. What are the risks for you around the water element? Queen of Air reversed. Okay. Eight of Fire reversed. The Hierophant. King of Water reversed. Three of Earth. Okay. I do think the people that have come to this reading, if you've come to the right reading, there is something very practical about this. There's something like in the social world or the educational world or the political world, even if it has a very strongly spiritual nature, something like that. Because where you could have an issue is where you're dealing with either people who are uncomfortable around the sort of way you process mental energy, and they may kind of make you second guess yourself, or people who are overly emotional. Like because you use air really well to deal with your water element, where people don't, where they either become too critical and too sort of icy, or where they become too histrionic almost, that's the thing that can kind of like slow you down. So I think there's a really big thing here about finding your soul family, your people who are similar to you. And it might be why it's saying the ripple effect, let it happen slowly. Don't try and rush, because there's something in the realm that you're doing that is likely to trigger really strong responses, like potential critiques, potential really emotional pushbacks, and that could slow you down. And it's got to do with the powers of the world or the belief structures of the world, because you have a different thing. You're trying to bring in a different consciousness, a different way of looking at things. So you need to understand that you're doing it in this realm, in this 3D realm, with other people. So understanding not everybody is able to deal with this element in the way that you do. And if you let that take over, then the people that you collaborate and connect with may be too traditional for what you're trying to do. So it's kind of like do it almost by stealth, not in a duplicitous way, but just do it slowly so that you can reach out and find your people, because there's a lot of people who are not as balanced in this as you are, and particularly in whatever realm you're doing this. So let's ask with 3 cards for some advice from the water element and from spirit about how to get that balance right. The Devil, the Ace of Earth reversed, the Page of Air. So it's interesting. It's some similarities to another reading there. And what is similar is it's saying don't rush what you're building till you're ready. Yeah, it's the ripple effect. It's like don't jump to the earth side of things. Let the water sort of reach out. It's almost like you have to reach out on a much wider terrain, like both in earth and kind of almost galactically to do this. You're building an ocean. You're not building a pond in the neighbourhood park. So allow it to grow carefully. Do understand the powers of the world. There is something about the powers of the world that you have to deal with here, and how you communicate. Your mind is very sharp, and your communication skills, it's like use communication media to ripple this out. So I said, like people who do this kind of thing, or something else, who are social influencers in some way, that using it, like just letting it spread out, find your people. Try not to get too caught up in the sort of material battles that are going on. Try to keep your communication clear. Okay, so to help a bit as well, I wanted to look at some moon energy. As I said, this deck has a bit of that kind of feeling about it. I'm doing it because, the moon and the tides, how the moon is very strongly connected to the water element. So we want to get a couple of pieces of advice from the Queen of the Moon Oracle for you. The blue moon, unexpected. Yeah, look, there is something very new and different about this. The blue moon only comes around occasionally, and it does bring in the unexpected or the new. I think there's a double message for you here, though. I think one of them is that you are connecting to something very galactic, something very new, something very different. It's going to challenge the status quo, but it's also, you may not expect how much pushback you're going to get. So it's like understanding that could happen. That's why taking it a little bit slowly. And balance, the waning gibbous moon. So a waning gibbous moon in general is about clarifying goals, pushing past blocks, and there will be blocks. I guess that's partly the ripple effect. It can go over the stones. It can go over what already exists. It can move out. It can spread out, until it creates an ocean. So there's something here about making sure you're very clear about what you do and taking it one step at a time, and just using the water element to flow over what could otherwise be almost this histrionic or critical response that you may get to what you're doing. Let's also let the white owl mystic tell us something as well. Virgo. Yeah, this is in the material world. It has a galactic kind of connection. It's very spiritual, but it is in the material world, and planning, and this is like working out what you want to do, and step-by-step planning is really going to help you. Helps you deal with the unexpected, helps you bring something new in. This is new and it's creative on that level, but it needs almost a project plan for it, pile 2. Because you're going to reach some pushback from those that are much more conventional or conservative, and I again, I never mean that politically. I'm meaning it in the sense of liking the status quo. And mother, okay, yeah, because you're meant to birth something new in. And again, there's sort of a feeling of gestation, so letting something grow over time, and like also letting the water, I think, like be a protection for you, because if you think about a child in the womb, it's surrounded by fluids. Those fluids sort of let it grow within a good space. So I think there is something that you are meant to birth into the world, but it's like you don't do it till you're ready, until you've drawn your people in, because otherwise it could end up almost the belonging of something, something more conventional in the world, or something that wants to sort of take it from you in some way. So it's making sure that you're careful about that you see all this coming, that you've had it all really well planned. Okay, let's get you some astrology or numerology around this. So we'll start with that, and then we're going to get a card that's either a fixed star or a mansions of the moon to fit with the sort of theme. So astrologically or numerologically for you, pile 2. Jupiter. There's a lot. Yeah, this is big. This is big and expansive. Like, what is more expansive than creating an ocean? What is more expansive than going into the galaxy? Like, this is well favored, so that's good, and it's meant to expand your life. And ripples expand out and out and out. Don't be surprised if the reach of this is much bigger than you expect it to be. So, you drop a stone into a lake and you sort of see the ripples and you think they can go out so far. This can go out much further than you expect it will. And if it's a relationship, a love relationship, then there might be something about it that the powers that be or the people around you or the conventional structures don't like, but this has huge growth potential if that's the case. And lunar eclipse. Yeah, there is a lot of emotion that's going to come towards you because of this. As I say, you're really well balanced with how you deal with your emotions, but I think there's going to be something a little bit almost hysterical or histrionic brought towards you. You just need to be aware of that, so that you kind of go within and find the balance and kind of like push that away so the energy doesn't sort of overtake you. Because that's the risk with the lunar eclipse, that your life path, the sun, is sort of obscured by all this emotion. So it's the emotion of others. This is what this was saying. It's not really your emotion that you have to worry about. Your emotion is well balanced, but it's the emotion and the response of others. Let's see what either fixed star or mansions of the moon is relevant for you. Alga, Algebha, strength and benevolence. Speak your truth and unleash your soul. Listen to the roar of your own heart. Yeah. If you find all these sort of people sort of pushing back and getting, getting sort of like irritated or argumentative or, pushing back, in social media or whatever it is, just remember this is something very powerful. Listen to your own heart. Listen to the roar of your own heart and protect it. You've got Leo and Cancer here. Cancer is very protective. Leo is the lion, is the new, is what you want to bring out into the world. Protect that energy. Okay, so to finish off, as I said, we started with the beautiful Water Alchemy Oracle by Alexandra and her artist Avilia, and we're going to finish with the Archangel Fire Oracle, which are from the same creative duo, because I just want to get you a couple of celestial guides for this energy pile too. So firstly, Zavkiel, that's really powerful. I actually think that's connecting a lot to this galactic thing. This is sort of like a archangel of the kind of major transformation and that kind of energy. And this deck talks particularly about creation from chaos. So yeah, this is this first ripple effect, creation, like the ocean, like from the galactic, the void from chaos. And it's different. This is the point. It's not whatever you're going to do, whatever this is about, whatever you're creating, whatever you're birthing into the world is coming out of chaos, but you are well equipped to deal with it, but many around you may not be. So Zavkiel will help you and protect you with that and protect the creation. And then we have Uriel. So I think Uriel is here because you are going to get pushback. If you haven't already, and you may have already, you are going to get pushback from people who don't get it, who are very much the status quo. So Uriel helps you to push past that, to forgive, to release that energy, and to keep moving forward. So there's something very precious that you are going to be creating or bringing into the world. Or if it's a relationship, there's something very steeped in sort of soul family that others may not agree with. But whichever it is, these archangels will help you stick to just letting that ripple gradually spread out, become the ocean, have the connection. And you don't have to ground it until you're ready. Because as I say, it is groundbreaking, literally. Because it's groundbreaking, if you think about the term groundbreaking, then there is a certain amount of chaos that occurs in the process of it. But these angels will help you deal with that. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading drawn to Comet. As I say, it sort of feels like sort of intergalactic and spiritual sort of energy. And certainly this card is about magical support from the galaxy, from the universe, wishes fulfilled, all of that sort of thing. What's interesting is I think we're seeing a transformation through a wish being fulfilled, which has been contested before, looking at this sort of energy, to where it can then really manifest and really spread out and become something beautiful. Because the Whirlpool card here is where you're being asked to sort of stand in your truth when you've actually had people trying to kind of argue with you or take you off course or take something of yours. You've been in a little bit of a situation where your boundaries and your emotions and whatever this is about has been kind of caught in a bit of a vortex. So the feeling here is that, whether it's around a relationship, if it's been difficult or others have got involved and like put their 2 cents in, or whether it's sort of something that you are wanting to achieve in your life, creatively, vocationally, spiritually, it's felt like really, it almost feels a bit like a tower energy. It's been a little bit full on, but this is saying that you're about to get inspiration and the luck and the wishes fulfilled. So you've been standing in your truth when maybe that was contested. That's going to be rewarded. And then so we move from a whirlpool, which feels like it's out of control and you're being pulled in every direction, to a waterfall where you can release that energy. You can release your sort of inspiration, where you can really sort of start to make your mark in whatever this is. So whatever we're talking about, that your water element, your emotions are being triggered by or are being connected to, whatever your struggle, and you have had a struggle, there is luck and magic coming through that will, as I say, change the whirlpool into a waterfall. So it's a lovely message here of sort of hope and things coming through for you magically. It's like serendipitous. It's like synchronicities are going to be everywhere, etc. So let's get a little bit more information on it. We're going to use tarot. I'm using a tarot that I feel has a very strong water energy to it and also a strong moon energy. And I'm going to use an oracle deck later that's about the moon because I feel the moon and the tides connect. So just to kind of keep that energy within the reading. So the first thing we're going to ask is how you're really using your water element energy well and skillfully. We're going to secondly ask where you could get overwhelmed because too much water causes a flood. And the third bit, we're going to ask for advice about balancing those before we then get some oracles for other information. So firstly, let's ask Spirit and the water energy or the water element. Where are you using that element really well? 4 of air, 10 of air. Well, you have been through something. 7 of air, reversed. The star. This is this story. 5 of earth, reversed. Oh, okay, beautiful. This is beautiful. So this is showing that when you were in this tempest, you sensibly withdrew. You could tell that there was a lot of drama that was just exhausting. And if it was necessary, you took time out. Like you're emotionally aware enough to know, and your mind tells you this. Like you can see, you know that whatever this was not reasonable. It was overly dramatic, and you knew to withdraw. You were very, very realistic about that. And you knew your part in it, and you knew how it was affecting you. One of the things I think is really powerful here is that I've seen often with people, particularly when they're in contested environments, that they may sometimes just stay. I mean, I think you withdrew, and I think it was a sensible thing to do. They may sometimes just stay because they want to prove that they can't be beaten by it. And sometimes you're in an environment where the whirlpool, the energy, the contested stuff is going to overwhelm anyone. So I think that you were realistic enough with yourself, and you are realistic enough with yourself to be able to assess when it's better to withdraw. And that is an incredibly strategically sensible thing. If you think about it, the great generals, and the great military strategists don't go into a battle unless they're pretty sure they're going to win. So you are very smart. And so in the middle of all of this, you know how to do that. And your ego is sufficiently robust that it doesn't feel that it has to stay fighting in a ridiculously contested environment that's probably not even rational, to be honest, whatever you were dealing with. That's just going to deplete your energy. So you know when to withdraw. Because of that, you allow this star energy, this comet energy, this North Star, this is your destiny coming through, and you will find the right people. You may have felt that you had to be alone, but this is going to actually lead you to, and this miraculous energy is going to lead you towards your people and towards better outcomes around this. So again, it's a waterfall. It connects out. It's beautiful. It's cleansing. So there is a kind of a destiny, there is a kind of a North Star energy around this for you, but you've known to retreat rather than try and fight the whirlpool, and that was the smartest thing. You are a very, very smart person. And as a result, it allows this energy to come through. So your mind works very, very well with your emotions. You don't let your emotions overtake you. So let's see where, having said that, even with the smartest person able to be detached, sometimes emotions can be overwhelming. So let's see where there is any risk of emotion in you overwhelming this sort of brilliant strategic mind that you have. The moon reversed, the 8 of air reversed, the 6 of earth, the emperor reversed, the hermit reversed. Okay. I think this is just a little bit of a future thing for you to be aware of. I do think, this miraculous energy is coming through because you withdrawn when you needed to, and you are going to find your people, but I think you're also going to find out what was really going on in all of this afterwards. I feel like there's going to be some revelations, even maybe about how your withdrawal was portrayed. And I feel like it's almost like there's going to be people who are saying you were ungrateful or something like that. And that's not true, but there's sort of a power energy where the power or whatever this was frustrated by the fact that you were able to withdraw and then move forward. And they've seen you sort of come out in the world. They've seen you emerge. So I think you're going to find out something. And it's just then where you may feel really aggrieved, because you may sort of feel that you've been misrepresented, or that, people are, you've really seen what their motives were and it really wasn't nice. But I think that Spirit just wants to say, don't worry about that. Just be aware it's going to happen, because when you start to emerge from your withdrawal and you find your people, it's like that's when you're going to really understand how wrong the energy was before. So that's the only issue. It's almost like you then could get overwhelmed with oh my God, it was like that, So don't let that happen. Just let it be a thing that congratulates you that you knew what you were doing, even when you didn't even fully know what you were doing. Your instincts were really on point. So let's get some advice for you around this. Page of Earth reversed, 3 of Fire, 3 of Earth. Okay, I think this is just the story, and this is to understand it. It's to really understand, particularly if you do feel overwhelmed, if you find, as I say, if somebody kind of badmouths you or something like that, because you left a project, you left a relationship, you left a friendship circle, whatever it is, that was never going to ground. It was never going to ground. So just be aware of that and let that go. You are going to find your direction, and then you're going to be able to build. You'll find the right people. You're finding your people. Do not let the wrong people make you doubt what you're doing, because you did exactly the right thing. And it was a step of strength to do this, because I think whatever it was, like you wanted whatever it was, and you're going to get a version of it, but not necessarily with the people that this was. And if you were in a relationship that was a power relationship, moving away from it was the right thing to do. It brings the right one in. Okay, as I said, I want to use decks that kind of connect to water in a different way. So the moon is a particularly strong one. So I want to get some advice for you from the Queen of the Moon Oracle. Patience. That's interesting. That came out for one of the others. This is saying that things take time. Allow things to take time. And that's also in the advice here, because the threes here, a double 3, it's like something new's coming with this waterfall. You've got to allow this magic to start to build, and it will take a bit of time, and you just need to be patient around it, and patient with yourself, and possibly patient with these people, because like if you get caught up in anger about it, that's when you get overwhelmed. You've almost got to be able to just detach and realize that they aren't the right ones. Okay, and surrender. The waning crescent moon. So a waning crescent is setting new intentions, but yes, surrender to the new coming in, surrender to the magic, let go of whatever happened before. It wasn't relevant. I feel like it was almost a test, actually, to be honest. I think you were being tested to see whether you could stand in your own truth, and if that meant withdraw, be strategic about it, so that what's coming through, this miracle, can come through because you are ready for it. And I think you passed that test with flying colours, pile 3. So now if you just surrender to letting the energy grow, that's going to work the best way for you. Let's also get some advice from the White Owl Mystic, which may pick up other moon energy or other elements around this situation. Seed of life. Yeah. No wonder there's the miracle. You are meant to bring something in. It's been really interesting, actually. All these readings have been about bringing something new in. So I think there's something about water clearing away the past so that the new can grow, and so that it's nourished. So there is something really beautiful that you're going to form. But the seed of life, it's a seed. It needs to grow. It needs the patience. And the flower of life. And look, there's your promise, isn't it? That's a promise. Like that, the seed of life becomes the flower of life. It's magical. There's something really magical about you and about this. And it's going to grow. Just have faith in that. As I say, I feel like you were being tested. And I think, as I say, you passed with flying colours. So go you, pile 3. So let's get you some astrology or numerology as well. Cancer. Yeah, protection. That makes perfect sense for Cancer to fall here. There's a sense of protecting. This is the thing. You knew that an ego battle with people who are the wrong people to be connecting with is never going to be the sensible thing to do. All it's going to do is reduce your own energy and your own magic. You were protecting something by withdrawing and separating out from it. And you will protect this through its growth because you're smart. You're really smart. And your ego is under really good control because you're not feeling you have to prove anything. You're just wanting to create whatever this is. Create a project, a spiritual direction, a love, whatever it might be. A child. For some of you, it may be about a child as well. And Neptune, yeah, very spiritually connected. You're very spiritually connected. This is why this can happen. And I think that it's saying that your mind's very sharp, but so is your intuition. Those two work really well together, almost imperceptible as to what the difference is between the two. I think, yeah, so it's sort of like when you knew to withdraw kind of in your mind, it was also your intuition telling you, and it's dead on. So pay attention to that. You are someone who the mind and the intuition are very closely connected. They're not, people often think spiritually they're separate, but they when they're working really well, they're not separate really. It becomes, the mind becomes a kind of almost a radio receiver for the intuition. I think you work very well with that. Let's also get you either a fixed star or a mansions of the moon piece of advice. Aldebaran, we have destruction and rejection. Finding stillness is like sailing up a river, chaotic at the beginning, peaceful toward the closure. Yeah, this is just picking up this energy. This is saying, like, you knew to do that. You know that this, it's like Marcus Aurelius, famously said, this too shall pass. You understood that. So you can sail up the river, and eventually it leads to something very good. But there's been something where there's been pushback, or if it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. But at that point, if you withdraw, you just let all the brouhaha go away, and then you can let the magic come through. That's where you end up. And the fact that it's around Taurus, to me, it's bringing something into the world. It's bringing something into the material world, something that is of the good life. Okay, now as I said in the introduction, I want to complete the reading with using another deck by the wonderful duo of Alexandra and Avelia, who created the water alchemy oracle. So we're using the Archangel Fire Oracle as well. So we're just going to get two archangels to watch over this advice for you. So, Mirabiel, beautiful with the moon. You are so connected, moon, Neptune, to the sort of numinous, very much so. And this is a reflection. This is about a reflection. She helps you reflect inwardly, and that's the process of withdrawing and understanding, and then reflect out the magic. So, and the wisdom, because you're wise. Actually, that's the thing. Neptune, and so the intuition and the intellect, when combined, are wisdom. That's it perfectly. She is here to sort of like support your wisdom. And Zachariel, what beautiful wings. And it's incredibly synchronistic because we've got the moon energy here telling you surrender, letting go of that passing to let the magic in. Zachariel is also about surrender, to let the new in, to let the sort of alchemical healing process, which we see with the peacock here, and both the colour peacock and the white peacock, let that occur, to let the new in. So Zachariel is watching over, making sure that this is as seamless as possible for you. Mirabiel is reflecting and bringing up your wisdom. You are going to go through whatever this is with flying colours. You may have already done so. And then the magic begins, pile 3. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.